Hey guys, it's Randy here at etrailer.Com. Today we've got a few minutes and we wanted to test the Thule Camber on our 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now the Camber itself is a 4 bike rack, has a lot of nice features about it. This is going to allow you to safely transport 4 bikes from home, work, get out to the trail where you want to go, or even long distance. This is going to be a really good bike rack for travels like that. The bike itself is held in spot in 3 places. We've got one here, one strap here, and then we've got an anti-sway cradle here at the bottom. That does a fair job of keeping the bikes from moving forward and back, so we won't have to worry about our bike hitting the center mast or really come back and making contact with each other. To release it, just going to push in the, almost like a cam buckle strap here. So we'll push that in. That'll allow us to get our strips out, and then when tightening, you can see there's a lot of different clip points there, so regardless of the size of your frame, you're going to have a real nice solid hold. And that's about as far as it'll expand. You can see really nice, large, and open. So just about any frame size we should be able to make fit. The anti-sway cradle is going to be the same there. Then we get the bike out of the way. We'll take a look at the cradles. They have a nice rubber coating inside of them. It's going to help to protect your bike frame. Also absorb some road shock while we're traveling. You can see on the straps here, kind of the same deal. They've got 2 strips there, going to give us really good protection. And there's an anti-sway cradle here on the back side. It also has some rubber in there. Now, one thing I'll show you, you can store those anti-sway cradles. Often these will get in the way while you're trying to load and unload a bike onto any hanging bike rack. So we can store them up and in, but you do have to remove this strap to do it. If you do plan on, or if your bike's frame's a little bit smaller and it won't slide over, instead of clipping these all the way in, you can leave them loose. That's going to allow you to get them in and out a little bit more easily. Another thing that I really like about this bike rack, and we don't often see it on hanging style bike racks, is the cradle spacing. So from the center of this one to the center of this one and so on, looking at 7 inches there, most bike racks are going to be 5, 5.5, or 6. So by buying an inch or 2 of space between our bikes, it's going to make it so that when we load them up, we're going to have a lot less contact and a lot less interference between them. Now, as I said, this is a 4 bike rack. It's also available in a 2 bike version. It's 14 inches shorter than this one is. It's going to offer 2 cradles, and those are spaced at 7 inches. So if you only have the need for 2 bikes, it's a good option. Let me get a measurement on this and see exactly how much room we're adding to the back. It looks like, I get my tape measure to work. It's going to add about 44.5 inches to the rear of the vehicle. So be about 20.5 if we were just in the 2 bike version. But regardless of the 2 or 4 bike version you choose, all we have to do is lift this lever right up here. We can get this down into the stored position. You can hear that nice audible click indicating that we have it stored properly. And in this case, whether it's the 2 or the 4, it's not going to be any different. Here we're looking at adding really about 14.75 of an inch. So not all that much space. This is going to make it ideal for parking garages, maybe pulling in your garage at night so you don't necessarily have to take it off the vehicle each time. There's another lever located here. Lifting that's going to allow us to rotate this down. It's going to give us great access into our hatch. I like a tilt-away bike rack if you're going to use a hanging style, because without that, pretty much going to have to take the rack off to gain access into that rear hatch area. We'll get a ground clearance down there on the bottom of the shank, but as you can see, it's really not going to make a huge difference on your Cherokee here. That hitch sits up pretty high. But just for reference, you're going to be looking at about 17.75 of an inch there. And then the closest point of the rack to the rear of our vehicle, it's going to be about 4.25 inches away. Another thing I like is the anti-rattle bolt that's going to come with our rack. It's also going to come with the tool you need to tighten it down. That keeps any movement and play down to a minimum, so we're really not going to have to worry about our bike shaking back and forth. And this can be used in 1.25 inches. You can see that shank there. Or if you leave it the way it comes, it's ready for a 2-inch hitch. So regardless of whether you've got a class 1, a class 2, class 3, it's going to work out fine. Although on most Cherokees it's going to be a Class 2, but if you wanted to use this for multiple vehicles, it'd work out for you. Now, all in all, I really like this bike rack. I like the way it works. I like how it tilts and folds. We don't have pins we have to pull. There's no set bolts that we have to loosen up. I would definitely own this rack. My bikes are a little bit on the lower end side though, so I'm not too worried about security. Nobody's probably going to want them, to be honest. But if you did have bikes that you were a little bit more concerned about, maybe some nicer mountain bikes or something like that, the Thule Apex XT is going to be almost identical in function to this rack, but it is going to include a cable lock for your bikes and also a locking hitch pin. So just to give you an option there, that would be a little bit more secure option than this. But all in all, really good, solid bike rack. Thule tests these things probably better than most companies out there to ensure they're going to work and we're not going to have any issues with them. Now, we did have this out through our test course, so let's take a look at that now. You'll see what it's going to look in a real-life situation. Here on our test course, we'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action. This simulates turning corners or evasively maneuvering. Once we get to the alternating speed bumps, we'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or pothole or driving over uneven pavement. Once we get to the full speed bumps, we'll see the up and down action. This will be just like driving in and out of a parking lot, parking garage, or driveway.